right, welcome back in. Just another football show. Division weekend rolling on.
The matchup we didn't prepare for. No one saw it coming.
Nope. And actually, it's crazy because they put out the times for these games before the Sunday night game had happened. I really was anticipating Chiefs to be that Saturday night, Mahomes-Lamar matchup, and saw that they had put the what was at that time I thought was going to be the Bills-Steelers matchup there, and I thought, well, that's not. Why is that on Saturday night? That seems ridiculous.
Someone knew.
And it was like they knew because now they have in my opinion, the best game of the weekend in Ravens-Bills.
You guys have been on the wrong website.
So it's interesting.
Getting all that conspiracy stuff in there. I thought they took all those down.
Interesting to see. But nonetheless, Chiefs-Browns. We're gonna talk to Browns fan Kaedin. I'm sure he's still drunk, so see how that goes.
He earned it.
Not sure.
Yeah.
I would be if I were him, but.
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes, and then gonna welcome Frenchie back on. He's been our Chiefs fan the last two postseasons. He's available, and
it was a good luck charm for him last year.
And he's back. He wasn't the year before.
He's batting 500, so
it's true. It's pretty good. Batting 500, I'll take it.
Better than most postseason guests we talk to.
That's gotta be true.
It's probably true.
I mean, mathematically, it just has to be true.
No team is.
He's only lost one
since,
game when he's been on with us.
Yeah. And no team has repeated since the 03, 04, whatever those two last Patriot back-to-back victories in the early 2000s were. No team's done it since then.
Well, giving it a shot. So we'll talk to those two guys and get you guys on your way. We gotta say we get Kaedin on the line. He's already sending me memes and gifs of wanting to know when the hell I'm gonna call him. He wants to talk, so let's get him on. Let's talk to him. All right, so in a stunning turn of events, one of the, 1, 2, 3 people who picked against their team last week is back with us.
You were wrong.
You, sir, were wrong. That's how we're going to start this.
You know who was more wrong? Casey.
Absolutely was me, sir. You are not wrong about that. Oh, Kaedin back talking Browns. Buddy, pal, how you doing? You got to be riding just as high as possible right now, right?
You guys probably weren't expecting to be talking to me today, were you?
No, sir. No, sir. Sure wasn't.
But we all wanted to, right? Like I think that's the thing that the most impressive thing about that game was that the entire world was rooting for the Browns. Well, most of the world, except for like Allegheny County or whatever.
The nice people were.
Yeah. Everyone was rooting for the Browns.
Had a lot of money on the black and gold.
Twitter was me too. Twitter was just insane on Sunday night.
Oh, it was insane. It's still insane. I wonder what it's like downtown Cleveland right now.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. And it wasn't that I was didn't think the Browns had a dog in the fight, pun intended. It was more of the COVID issues.
All the dogs doing the pound.
Yeah. Well, they were. They were locked in the basement. By himself. They left the TV on for him, though, so he thought somebody was there. Also so we could watch the game. But with everything going on, Kevin Stefanski out, missing 2 of your offensive coordinators, your offensive line coach was not involved in the game due to, COVID and testing positive and stuff like that. I really thought that would be the difference maker, and it wasn't.
It didn't matter at all.
I thought that this team would need that sort of coaching experience to navigate them through it, especially when they jumped out to a huge lead. And you saw Pittsburgh start chipping back away at that. I thought they would need that to sort of right the strip to keep these guys on the path of, hey, this isn't over yet, watch out. And it wasn't the case, so I could not compliment more what the Browns coaches that stepped up did in this place.
For real, dude. I don't know what happened, but I'm just so glad that it did.
Yeah, it's like they summoned all this extra kind of energy to take them to that next level. Maybe
they summoned all the good juju.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
It does it feel? I guess that's the question. Does it feel like this undoes the last 20 years of misery or whatever?
Oh, it definitely does. Like beating Pittsburgh, we could beat Pittsburgh one game a year and we finish 1-15, and I'll still be happy. As it just makes it so much sweeter that it was against Pittsburgh at Heinz Field.
And it was just an absolute trouncing. It was 28-0 in the first quarter. A couple of Kareem Hunt touchdowns, the Jarvis Landry long touchdown, and then the first play of the game, snap over the head of Ben and Carl Joseph. And then the Browns weren't stepping off the pedal. They did eventually a little bit, draw it back a little bit.
In the second quarter, they went to prevent defense. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
But then they realized that the Steelers had a chance, and the Browns flipped it back on, and they were cruising all night. The Steelers defense had zero effect on Baker. Baker was not rushed. He wasn't sacked. He wasn't put on the ground or hurt.
All those things Casey said was going to happen.
All the things that Casey said, word for word, were going to happen. None of them happened.
Baker looks like $1 million, man. I don't know. It's insane.
Yeah. And without, I don't know. It's still something that I'm trying to figure out as well. I know that Big Ben had what?
There's no figuring out anything with the Cleveland Browns.
That's why they play the games, right? It was a game that everyone had written off as it had one of the bigger spreads of the weekend. I put money after that first Browns touchdown. I put money on the Steelers to win the game.
The first one and the second one.
I dumped the rest of my sportsbook account in there, and so I'm eating crow today. But it's just one of those things that was very cool to watch, especially to watch in real time. With talking to people in group. I was in group chats. People saying, "What the hell is going on? What's going on with the fucking Steelers?" And none of it mattered at all. Because the Browns just were bound and determined to get this done, and it was incredible to watch.
I'm still waiting to wake up. Me and my dad, you've probably seen a Facebook post, we've been waiting my entire lifetime to watch a football game like this. And it finally happens, and it's the outcome that nobody expects, with players playing like nobody expects. It's just exactly how it should have been.
Yeah, they stepped up huge and in a big way, and this was the definition of a team win here. If you look at no further than this one right here, with, like I said, the coordinators stepping up and now calling the right plays, and the team sort of rallying behind everything, and it was just a roller coaster throughout the whole week. So great to see them harness all that energy into something positive on the field. Now we get to shift gears and talk about business at hand. Divisional matchup coming up, going to Kansas City. Kaedin, my first question is, watching this Browns team throughout the course of the season, or even just the course of this incarnation of the Browns team, it seems like when they get really high, they fall really hard after that. How do you keep this momentum going without slipping coming into Kansas City?
Well, I'll tell you what needs to happen. John Sherman Smith-Schuster and his Canadian jitterbug friend need to keep on talking.
Yeah, it does seem to be a sort of rallying point, and you would think that after the game, they would be done with it. But Chase Claypool came out today and said something about, they beat us, but they're going to get clapped next week, so it's all good.
Nobody knows what any of that means.
It's bad. It's not good. It's bad.
It can't be good. But yes. So the answer,
as bad as what happened to them in the first quarter.
Did the Steelers get clapped? I think they did.
I think so.
I don't know exactly, but I gotta say, if that's not a clapping, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what is a clapping.
I would have to think so.
And then there's the whole clap backing or back clapping or something like that. That's a whole sidebar.
You don't have to be clapped to be clapped back.
Yeah, we'll pin it for later. So basically,
the Chiefs are going to get a whole round of applause coming their way.
All the clapping. So basically, what you're saying is they just have to keep the momentum, right? They have to keep focused at the task at hand, keep motivated, if you will. So don't come in here now thinking that, yes, we just knocked off Pittsburgh for the first time at home in the playoffs forever, and sort of let up. They have to stay motivated. How do you keep that mindset outside of the chatter coming out of Pittsburgh? If you are coaching this team up, what do you tell them to make sure that they come in here focused on the task at hand?
Well, I think that they're in completely different mindsets, if you will, of the Chiefs, whereas the Browns have everything to gain and nothing to lose. I mean, defending Super Bowl champions are going to their home stadium. If they lose to the Cleveland Browns after winning the Super Bowl, that's not a very good look. And if the Browns can knock off the Super Bowl champions in their home stadium at Arrowhead, that just further proves how good this Browns football team is. And I think that they're just going to do whatever it takes to prove that they belong where they're at right now.
One thing in particular that Kansas City doesn't do the way Pittsburgh did last night, and that is turn the ball over a ton. You have seen, and I'll save a little bit of that for our preview episode, but you've seen Patrick Mahomes over this last stretch of the season throw some interceptions that he's not normally done throughout his career. Is this a situation where how do you force this Kansas City team, to turn the ball over, to create these opportunities? I don't know if Cleveland has the weaponry to hang in there if it comes to a shootout, score for score. So they're going to have to hope for some turnovers here. What do you do defensively to sort of force Patrick Mahomes into a bad throw or a bad situation?
Well, get that number 34 Robert Jackson out of the game, probably.
Yeah, he got torched.
He got wrecked by Juju. I don't know. I think it's kind of the same mindset that I had going into last week, where they just need to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands because Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, one of them. I don't know. There's not going to be any stopping him. It's just giving him limited opportunities to produce off of it.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, right? You want to do the things that we watch teams do to beat really high-powered offense. You want to control
what
the ball.
happened last week will not happen again. Nothing close to it.
No, and there's no real explanation for the Steelers other than they played like shit.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen with a rested, well-coached Andy Reid off of a bye team. So I think you're right that, keep the ball in your hands. If you're Cleveland, keep the ball in your hands with, Nick Chubb. Keep the ball in your hands with Kareem Hunt, who was an absolute.
I heard it's the revenge game.
It is a revenge game, sure. Kareem Hunt was untackleable against the Steelers. Like, he would run through 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. And it was just incredible to watch. And then I think, Baker, which we saw a game full of good decision Baker. I think if Baker could be the decision maker, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. Baker's been playing lights out since probably mid-season. Coincidentally, after Odell went out with injury, but that's like for another time to talk about that. I don't know. Baker, I have so much faith in him right now that it's really weird to think about. I've never had faith in a quarterback like I do Baker Mayfield. I believe that he knows what the hell he's doing at this point in time.
Casey wants to point out the
it's
jersey.
It's such a low bar.
Yeah.
It's such a low bar.
The jersey with
Tim Couch.
Certainly better than Johnny Manziel and Colt McCoy and all those guys. But
Jeff Garcia's name is on that list too.
He just surpassed Brian Hoyer as like the most successful quarterback in the last 10 years.
And Baker, I think you could get into some deep analysis. We don't necessarily need to, but over what he was last year and this year, and I think he is just playing better, right? Just flat out, he's playing better.
Yeah.
And B, when this unit came in, Kevin Stefanski came in with his coaches, Andrew Barry, the new GM, who deserves a ton of credit.
That play action is fire.
Yeah, that play action, grabbing offensive linemen to shore up this offensive line, make Baker feel better. It's
literally guys off the street. Didn't even have a chance to practice with the team.
And no offensive line coach, no assistant line coach.
Introduced himself before the game.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
And the guys just come up and are dominant. So I really think that's a big part of it, obviously, is he feels better. But this team has had a dedication to improving the offensive line, to make Baker better, and to run the ball. And all of their actions this entire year, adding Jack Conklin, drafting Wills, Jedrick Wills, the guys that they've added in free agency. Dunn was, in the game last night.
Teller is one of the best linemen in the league this year.
He was
just out of nowhere.
I think the number one ranked guard in the league this year. Out of nowhere. Yeah, you're right. Out of nowhere. He came over from somewhere. He was on,
Who the hell knows?
Yeah, so I think that
McDonald.
Yeah, pretty much. The team has been built really well, and now they're executing. And I don't think it's a far cry to say that they have the goods to potentially pull the upset here on the Chiefs. It's just a matter of can they play that disciplined football? Can they take advantage of a turnover if they get one? Right? Because they were able to do that every time last night. Every time the ball was turned over, they score off of it. You got Sione Takitaki, getting picks and
such a fun name.
Yeah, such a fun. I had to get it in there. So. I think that it's not crazy, right? We wrote off this team last week, and now we're all
it's not crazy. As I told several Chiefs fans on social media throughout the week, careful what you wish for, Because I think Cleveland does match up very well to their strengths of their offense is the weakness of the Kansas City Chiefs defense. And Casey will back that up. If you can run the football ad nauseum against the Chiefs team, you stand a pretty good shot.
Sure, but when Ben was actually making good passes, he was slicing and dicing.
Well, I don't see a situation.
I don't see that being a problem.
I don't see a situation either where Cleveland's playing prevent defense halfway through this game like they were last night either.
Yeah.
So, it's
no, absolutely. But they should absolutely be able to run the ball very well against the Chiefs. That's one of the biggest weaknesses on this football team, and I do expect big days for both Chubb and Hunt. I'm not buying into the quote unquote revenge thing. Chubb's going to get his, and probably more so than anyone else. But I don't know. They will definitely have success running the ball. They'll just have to sort of figure it out from there.
I agree. Like another thing last week, there were so many people missing on our defense. Like Olivier Vernon was gone. Denzel Ward was out. Well, Robert Jackson didn't really step up, but guys like Porter Gustin, Adrian Claiborne, all them guys on the D-line.
I didn't even realize Adrian Claiborne was still playing.
Didn't realize he was on this team until he literally was highlighted on a replay last night.
He still owes Casey a jersey.
To which I immediately pointed out to my father-in-law that I was watching the game with. He owes me a jersey.
And all those guys had to step up because of injuries, because of COVID. Myles Garrett hasn't been playing lights out, so you've had some of the other guys step up. I'm not sure about the status of Denzel Ward. That'd be a huge get if there's a world where he can come back. If it's playing through some injuries and it's possible this is the game to do it in, right? So, I don't know. This kind of just keeps reminding me of like the Patriots and Eagles a few years back, where the Eagles were the huge underdogs and they were having fun and they were going against the juggernaut and the Patriots, and the team that's having fun ends up toppling the team who's just kind of used to being there. So I see a little bit of that here. We saw them obviously play the underdog against the Steelers, and then if they can keep that going, right? Because that's a kind of thing that defines your team, and you can really buy into it. If everyone's buying into this underdog mentality, if everyone's buying into this, we belong here kind of thing, you can really turn that into something. Ask the Philadelphia Eagles, who won the Super Bowl off of it.
Exactly. It's the whole thing. We have nothing to lose by losing the game. But if we beat the defending Super Bowl champions, that's huge.
It is quite the mindset.
It's house money, right?
Yeah, it is absolutely playing with house money, which is something a lot of people understand more after this last weekend. Literally playing with some house money.
Browns were they seeded higher than Baltimore, or were they the last seed?
Colts were the last seed.
We were last.
Browns, Baltimore. I'm just trying to see a world where Cleveland somehow shocks the world and winds up hosting a championship game. I don't think it can happen.
No.
It depends. I think they were.
I don't know, but a Browns-Bills championship game would be pretty wild.
That'd be fun as hell.
Yeah, it would be. Wow, that would be something. That'd be really, really crazy. I'm hoping against it, though.
No, they are. They are the
right,
higher seed.
Yeah, but that's the upside, though. The upside is that
I'm just trying to convince you, Casey.
I get it. I bet the Bills to win the Super Bowl, though, so I'd be rooting for them against you anyway.
But, hey, what's a better team to lose to than the Browns?
The Bills. I couldn't. It'd be rough. The Steelers fans are really feeling it today. I've seen a lot of upset Steelers fans.
Well, they
today.
talk a lot of shit all season long for what was probably a fake 11-0 team.
All right, Kaedin, you gonna pick your team this week? Give me a pick. Give me a final score.
It worked out pretty well for me last week, so I think I'm just gonna go Chiefs 31-23.
All right, fair enough.
Trying that old reverse jinx.
Huh? I sincerely hope that we're not talking to you next week. It's all I'm going to give you.
Yeah, it'll be kind of awkward, won't it?
It will be very awkward. I'll just sit here and make Jam do the whole thing. I won't even talk to you.
Hey, I wish you the best of luck.
We'll use his phone to call you and everything. I won't even use mine.
All right.
No, I'm fucking with you.
We'll be friends next week.
We'll be friends next week. That's for sure. We'll get through it. We'll be there. We'll see each other on the other side.
One of us will be more sad than the other.
This is true. All right, man. Thanks for the time. And like I said, sincerely hope to not talk to you next week. But hey, who knows? This is why they play the games,
boys.
right?
Look forward to talking to you next week.
Take it easy, man.
See ya.
All right, now for my I don't even really want to call it a pick-me-up. I had to deal with talking to a Browns fan just now, and there's a lot of shade being thrown. So now we're going to get Frenchie on. He has talked to us the last couple seasons. Last season, he was the good luck charm. Got us all the way through the Super Bowl. It's been a week off, well-rested. Frenchie, how is it going, sir?
Well, when you're getting ready for a potential trip to the AFC Championship, it always feels pretty good.
It's not too bad to see that in the future. Hopefully, we're not overlooking anything, though.
Yeah, you don't want to pull up Pittsburgh.
I want to ask because I've been battling with this internally, and I don't think I've actually said it out loud. I was watching the Browns Steelers game on Sunday night, and my head was pulling me towards the fact that I did have a decent chunk of change on the Steelers to win that game in different facets of life. But there was also that part in the back of my mind that was like, yeah, bring on the fucking Browns. How are you dealing with watching that game Sunday night?
I mean, just in general, I don't really like the Steelers. And, when you have the Browns in the playoffs for the first time in nearly 2 decades, it's kind of hard not to cheer for them.
Fair.
Then you add in the fact that, instead of having to face down Lamar Jackson, the MVP from last season, who finally, was able to nut up or shut up in the playoffs, instead we get to play against Baker Mayfield, who's about as inconsistent as they come when it comes to starting quarterbacks in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He is the oldest, though.
Yes, this is true. Give him the old Elder Award on the AFC side.
Yeah.
Okay,
On the AFC side.
Right, yeah, Ryan's looking at the other side
Wait
going, no.
Wait a minute.
All right, so, Frenchie, you got any concern with the way that the end of this regular season sort of, I don't know, petered out for the Chiefs? We saw them sort of just do what they had to beat the Falcons to lock up that 1 seed.
Saints game was close.
Saints are a good team. I'll give them that. The Saints were getting pressure with
Finn's
without
game before
anything.
that.
Yeah, like they played a lot of
Mahomes
really
was
close
throwing
games.
interceptions. It was weird.
Yeah.
Here's why I wasn't concerned. For over a decade, I've been a Golden State Warriors fan. And, after that first championship run in 2015 and then the 73-9 season in 2016, the next 3 regular seasons, they knew what it took to get to where they needed to go. And you saw them in the regular season going through the motions a little bit. I think one of the big things is in the later part of the season when the Chiefs kind of saw that avenue to the number 1 seed, I don't think they were as aggressive play calling wise. And they're like, if we drop a game, it's not a huge deal. But you guys just mentioned the Dolphins and the Saints. Everyone talks about the 1-score wins. Yeah, okay, but that was also on the road against Tampa Bay, on the road against the Dolphins, who should have been a playoff team this year with 11 wins, and on the road against the Saints. And, the Falcons are, a pretty bad team, but they're not a talentless team. They still have a former MVP quarterback. They've got talent at the wide receiver positions and on offense. And I just don't think the Chiefs had a sense of urgency in that Falcons game. But we've seen it from Patrick Mahomes that he can, on a dime, turn into what we know as the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, you mentioned it, the sense of urgency. And that you get that sort of feeling just watching some regular season Kansas City Chiefs games, like they kind of come out and there's times where, they're sort of hanging in there and it might be a field goal game. And all of a sudden you get late in the second half and they just go boom and they score a touchdown and they score another and they score another. And they go, well, they've had it all along. They just either conserving it or just when the time comes to put the pedal to the metal, get the gas going, they know how to do that. There's part of me, Frenchie, that thinks the way the Browns were able to knock off Pittsburgh might be a little bit of a detriment to Cleveland. I think if this was a close football game and Cleveland sort of just willed out a victory here, that says less than the way they won now. Now Kansas City, coached the way they are, Andy Reid does a tremendous job coaching this team. I think they're going to be ready now for this Browns team. Not that they wouldn't be ready before, but I think Sunday night was not only a wake-up call for, obviously Pittsburgh, but Kansas City going, okay, wow, we've got these guys coming to town. They just did this to a very good Pittsburgh Steelers team, allegedly. A great defense. We need to make sure that we are firing on every cylinder. We cannot make a mistake. We cannot give this team an opportunity to stay in this. Are you kind of getting that same feeling?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, like, if I look at this Steelers-Browns game, you replay that game 10 more times, I think the Steelers are going to win 9 of them, because Big Ben's not going to turn the ball over 5 times every single one of those games. He's not going to throw 4 picks and have a fumble. You know who else is not going to throw 4 picks and have a fumble? The best quarterback in the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes. But he is a guy that'll come out and throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, which Big Ben did against a decimated Browns secondary. That the Browns, in my opinion, the biggest way they win this game is if they get up early and can control the clock with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. The Chiefs, it's been long documented that they struggle against the run. It's what everyone talks about, their biggest weakness for the last 3 years. But if it gets into a shootout, I'm putting my money on the guy that has a Super Bowl ring and a regular season MVP under his belt, rather than a guy that has had 1 good year out of 3 years in the NFL.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Obviously, that's the case. And everyone should, everyone does. I'm gonna go and say everyone does trust, Mahomes more than Baker, and Mahomes more than Big Ben as well, because
there's not very many quarterbacks in the league I'd rather have on my team than Patrick Mahomes.
And then you look at the situation as well. It's Andy Reid coming off of a bye week. He's very, very good at this. Maybe he wasn't exactly planning for the Browns to be the team he's facing, but I bet he can kind of overcome the little curveball here. It's one of those things. It's David versus Goliath, right? And we do know how that one ended, but they weren't playing football in that one.
Yeah, the biggest storyline I'm watching this weekend is I want to see how big of a chip on his shoulder that Kareem Hunt plays with. This is the team that drafted you, tried to, give you a chance, but you lied to them and they ended up cutting you. Is there any, sort of wanting revenge? How big of a game is it for him? Because for me, I think he's the biggest X factor coming to this game, because every team's going to plan to stop the run against Cleveland. The goal is to make Baker beat you. And even with Jarvis Landry out there, still with Austin Hooper and some very talented side receivers that have really stepped up this year, I still think you got to take the run game away. That is the biggest calling card for this team, with arguably the best running back duo in the NFL. With Hunt's ability to play out of the passing game, out of the backfield, or lining up in the slot, I think he is a huge weapon and X factor for Kevin Stefanski, Baker Mayfield, and the Browns coming into this game. And how big of a game is it for him, I think, will determine of how big of a game he has on Sunday.
See, I don't know. I obviously this is a big game. It's coming back to Kansas City. But if you take sort of what he said in his exit interview, if you want to call it that, there was really not a whole lot of hard feelings.
I don't think he's
on
in a position where he can have bad blood, right?
Yeah, but I think he was able to acknowledge that, this is on me. What happened was my fault. I now own that, and now he's coming in here. But there might be a little bit of that. Hey, I want to show these guys that I can do this. That maybe you should have given me a second chance as opposed to me having to go find it elsewhere. One interesting sidebar here, and we talk about Pittsburgh. If you would have told me that Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell were still in the postseason at the start of this year, and Big Ben and the Steelers were out, I would have just laughed for the most part, especially because Lev was over there on the Jets. But you saw him really sort of step up over the last quarter of a season. How much of a factor do you think Le'Veon Bell is going to be? Kansas City needs to sort of get this run game going. You saw CEH a little bit banged up towards the end of the year. Is he coming in on fresh legs? How do you think the impact of this running game is going to be?
So I think the biggest determining factor is whether or not Edwards-Helaire is ready to go on Sunday. He had what looked originally like was going to be a potential ACL or major leg injury, with it just being, kind of like a high ankle sprain. It looked like it was going to be, okay, he's done for regular season. That's all right. We've only got a couple games left. Got the number 1 seed locked up. They'll have a couple weeks to rest. Now we're looking at crunch time Le'Veon Bell at 28 years old is still a fine running back, but he's not the 2016 Le'Veon Bell that we saw finish as an All-Pro. He's the type of guy now that can give you some good carries, but he's going to be more of a threat catching the football, which is why he works with Patrick Mahomes. I think you've got to be able to run the ball at least a little bit to keep defenses honest. But as we saw last year, up until the Super Bowl, it's not a huge factor for the Chiefs when they had to rely on Damian Williams and Darrell Williams through the stretch run last year. Now, Damian Williams was fantastic in the playoffs. He's a folk hero in Kansas City now because of that Super Bowl. But overall, I think it's less of a factor for them as it might be for any other team in the playoffs. Like, even if you look at someone like Pittsburgh, where they got Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Jones is a huge factor of that team offensively. I can't say the same thing about Le'Veon Bell or even Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Kansas City.
Yeah, there were times where it looked like they were going to lean on the run game throughout the course of the season. Week 1, that game against the Bills, but other than that, it really has just been sprinkled in. It's kind of been, the cherry on top of this offense.
I don't know if it's so much you have to lean on it. You just want to know that it's going to be able to work if you need to have it.
I can say with 100% certainty that the game that Le'Veon Bell stepped in as a starter, the first game after CEH, he was not good. That was the Falcons game. Le'Veon Bell was not good in that one. I started him in a fantasy league, and I was staring at that the whole time. So I'm a little bit concerned there, but it does sound like CEH is making all the progress to be back. He's attacking the injury, is what one article called it. So I think that obviously helps that he's young. And, some people come back from that.
I can't come from back.
So I think
stubbed my toe. I'm done for the day.
I think when push comes to shove, he will be back, but it is a question of how much they're actually even going to need him.
Yeah, I think that when it comes down to it, the Chiefs have a penchant for getting up, especially in the last couple of weeks of the season, of getting up and then letting teams kind of fight their way back into it. We saw it with Miami. We saw it even back in the Carolina game, where teams are able to stick with them. I think the Chiefs have to find a way to be able to control the clock at least a little bit. So, like you said, don't necessarily need to lean on the run game, but when you have a lead, the ability to at least move the ball effectively and get into third and short situations, you can run the ball a couple times, pick up 3-4 yards every time, and make it 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and then turn the ball to your Pro Bowl quarterback and let him go to work to pick up the first downs. I think that's the biggest key. It doesn't have to be the biggest factor of your offense, but having it be a factor of your offense.
Yeah, you mentioned letting the some of the teams come back, and I think the running game are not necessarily having a dependable running game is part of the reason that some of those teams have come back. The Chiefs have a hard time maybe finishing out games. And the other concern is obviously the defense. You haven't won a game by more than one score since way back in Week 8 against the Jets. That was a 35-9 blowout, but that was the Jets. How do you feel about the defense for this Kansas City Chiefs team?
I think now that everyone's kind of gotten a little healthy, in the last couple of weeks, you had a banged-up Damian Wilson, Ben Neiman, Chris Jones had a couple ailments, nothing that kept him out of a game, but then Frank Clark was banged up a little bit. Now you get all these guys healthy. Another couple of weeks for Juan Thornhill to kind of settle in. L'Jarius Sneed get back to full health after that shoulder injury that knocked him out for half the season. I really think that now having everyone healthy, being able to activate Anthony Hitchens off the COVID list, all these factors really help to get that defense back to where it was when we saw them, shutting teams down in the playoffs last season. And, everyone talks about how bad the defense is. This is still a top 10 scoring defense in the NFL and a very good pass defense with guys like Tyrann Mathieu and Tavarius Ward in the defensive backfield. And then guys that a lot of people sleep on and don't talk about, like L'Jarius Sneed and Bashaud Breeland. These guys can shut down opposing passing attacks. And if they get a lead and Baker has to start throwing the football, could be a major problem for Cleveland.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. the Cleveland offense doesn't really have the world beaters there. You did say they had some good young guys coming up. I saw Rashad Higgins drop his fair share of balls on Sunday night, and didn't even really see Donovan Peoples-Jones involved too much. Jarvis Landry is the biggest threat there, and he can ghost a linebacker if he gets on him, but you can't just kind of be dumping to him all day, all game. So I think it's right to point out, obviously, Breland and Snead are playing very well. I don't know how much work they're going to have to do on Sunday, though.
Yeah, I think you're with Jarvis Landry is a guy that works his best out of the slot, and I think you might see guys like Daniel Sorensen and Tyrann Mathieu pick him up more and try and have guys like Breland, Snead, and Ward try and shut down the outside and make them throw the middle of the field. I also think that the tight end is going to be a big factor for Cleveland in this one. They pay Austin Hooper all this money, had a pretty disappointing regular season compared to what he did last year with Matt Ryan. And, obviously it's a different offense. It's a run-heavy offense. But we saw what Irv Smith and Kyle Rudolph did last season in Kevin Stefanski's offense. And, they're paying this guy over $12 million a year, and he's putting up pedestrian numbers. You can't have that. I think he has to have a big game potentially for them to really justify his contract, and still having, Njoku there, who he's not, a world beater of a tight end, but still a very quality young tight end that they could still continue to develop.
Yeah, I'm still, I don't know. He's selling me on some points. I'm feeling a little bit better, I guess. I don't know. Frenchie, before we make you do the thing where you pick the game and pick the final score and all that, man, you've got a lot of stuff going on.
Dude's a busy guy.
A lot of extracurriculars. I wasn't sure we were going to be able to steal some of your time this postseason. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on, where people can find you, what you're doing.
So my biggest passion that I've been doing for the last couple of months is actually an anime podcast with a couple of friends of mine, the Weekly Weeks podcast on Facebook, Twitter. We just started Instagram as well. We had an award ceremony. We talked, basically like a Oscars version of shows we reviewed for 2020, and we're actually getting together Wednesday night to record our newest episode of the season. So looking forward to that. Thursday mornings, I am a producer and co-host on 1350 ESPN in Des Moines on Go Deep with Tariq. Just started that on Christmas Eve, and it has been a lot of fun. Last week we had Seneca Wallace, Kaedin Banks, Najee Good, who's a free agent linebacker in the NFL. I know our first show we had an NFL agent whose name's escaped me off the top of my head, but every week we're going to have Kaedin Banks and comedian Dwight Powell on. We're going to do some Division III coverage that I'm really looking forward to every week. I actually just accepted a job that I start tomorrow at Carl Chevrolet, working with sales team.
Busy.
If you need a new vehicle.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Come see me up on Ankeny, your Stewart. And then my biggest thing that I've been working on since this past fall is broadcasting and live streaming Milwaukee Athletics. We got another game on Tuesday night, Urbandale coming to town, just a boys game on Tuesday night, but we will have coverage of that starting at 6 p.m. And, this past week was kind of intense, I'm not going to lie. We actually just got back from a trip, and I was in between my previous job and my start date at Carl's. And I said, I'm going to take a week off. Yeah, I didn't have a week off. I had the show Thursday morning. I had 4 wrestling meets and 5 basketball games and the award show. So I had 10 live streams this past week, plus our sports show.
Busy,
still
man.
Worked about 35 hours.
This guy is just putting in all the work. That's where we're at. Like I said, that's why when I messaged you, I said, I hope we'll be able to carve out a little bit of time for us. All right, give me your pick for this game. Tell me what you think the final score is and who wins this one.
I mean, the obvious pick, Kansas City, going back. They're going to host third straight AFC Championship. Andy Reid, hosting 3 in a row again, only coach to ever do it, and he's going to do it again. I'm really thinking this one is going to be a lower scoring one than a lot of people think. I think the Chiefs are going to possibly get behind early, as they like to do in the postseason.
So Chiefs football.
And I'm not thinking, they're going to get down 24-0 in the first quarter like the Houston game last year. But I'm thinking, Cleveland comes out, maybe first 2 drives, puts the points on the board. And I'm thinking, they're going to trail maybe 7-0, 10-0 in the first quarter and put a score up at the end of the first, kind of, work their way back in. Their offense will warm up, score a couple times, go into the halftime break, 17-7, 17-10. And I really think we're looking at a final score about 27-13, 27-17.
All right, man. Well, I'll be bugging you and hoping we can cut in for a little more time with you next week if that happens.
And he's really hoping that happens.
I'm really hoping that happens.
I'm really hoping that Chase Claypool was correct and the Browns are going to get clapped.
This is
what
true.
does that mean? We
It's
still
bad.
don't know what
It's
that
bad.
means.
Just beat up bad.
It's just bad.
It means that their cheeks are going to get clapped. That's what he's referring to.
Oh man. All right, man. We appreciate the time. We'll stop stealing it from you. Hopefully, we'll be getting a hold of you next week.
Yeah, you guys have a good night.
All right. Thanks for the time.
Man, thanks, Frenchie.
Bye.
All right, another one down. Got one more left to go for the divisional round. So that was the mid-afternoon game on Sunday. We got the Sunday nighter coming up. That'll be coming your way if you're catching this live here in just a couple hours. If you miss anything, go back. We talked the 2 Saturday games: Rams, Packers, Ravens, Bills. It's all out there. Same place that it was last week. Facebook, YouTube, find it on the Twitter. Links are everywhere.
We're
Give it a
busy
share.
people, too.
We're trying to be busy. Yeah, we put in some hours last week too, Frenchie. Anything else, guys, before we send these guys off and come back at them with another game?
No, I'm good.
It was just funny to see, Kaden's just happy to be here.
Yeah.
And Frenchie's all business. This
I'm-
business trip.
I'm a
to the home
little,
stadium.
yeah, I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
I think Frenchie might be coming in here a little. I don't want to say too confident, but
Are you saying maybe it's the Chiefs who get clapped?
he did say something about like cheeks. I thought he said
Your
cheeks clapped.
Your ass cheeks.
Yeah, okay.
clapped.
That's what that means.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna
I thought it was like a gun
move on.
thing.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna be done.
Weird.
All right, so until later, or a couple minutes, if you go back and listen to a previous one of these, if you missed them.
Next time. Until
Next time. Until
We're
next
old.
time, for these two fucks next time.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And 2 great guests again. This has been Just Another Football Show.
Bye.
See ya.
Act one.